Welcome to Part 3 of the HO Missabe Northern Railway, showing the freight-dominated route between Duluth, Minnesota and the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. We'll ride the head end of Great Northern number 408, a through freight eastbound from the Twin Cities to Duluth. Here we pass two engines of the Minnesota Transfer Railway, I painted and lettered. Next, we roll through the town of Cambridge, which has a lot of work for the way freight out of Minneapolis. Cambridge includes more industry track, built first for the first Missabe Northern in the 1980s. I had to save the overlapping spurs crossing each other. Omisote's spline roadbed provides beautifully flowing curves of any size with proper spiral easements unique to each situation. They are ideal for hand-laying track. For medium to large model railroads, they are as inexpensive and easy to build when the simplified support benchwork is factored in as any method I have used or seen in over 60 years in the hobby. Brook Park is a small community built at a junction with a secondary line from St. Cloud. On the right is a closer view of the dispatcher's desk. Next up the line is Hinckley, served first by a Northern Pacific predecessor and now also by the Great Northern. Some traffic is interchanged here as more of the industries were built on the Northern Pacific side. The Missabe Northern added a connection here at the north end of town to improve efficiency and assure detour viability. Sandstone is a thriving town in spite of reduced demand for its sandstone quarry building products during the Depression. Two long sidings enable the town switcher to work efficiently and not delay through trains. It has a Y surrounding its depot for turning a short passenger accommodation out of St. Cloud that connects with the Great Northern's morning Badgers on their St. Paul to Duluth runs. A way freight out of Duluth also turns back here. Foxborough is little more than a grain and supply convenience for local farmers, with a short siding for occasional meets with the Badger or Gopher passenger train. Approaching the outskirts of Duluth, we pass under a trestle of the Duluth, Winnipeg and Pacific, the PEG for short. Universal Atlas Cement Company is expanding and uses slag waste from the American Wire and Steel Mill on the left in the making of Portland cement. Curving by the Peg Yard in West Duluth, we pass under the Missabe's ore dock approaches. The Northern Pacific switch engine has a cut for switching at the west end of Bridge Yard. A ready track on the left holds engines for morning departures. The class tracks of Bridge Yard are on the far right as we pass along the arrival and departure yard. Lots of downtown industries are switched by another Northern Pacific switch job. Uncoupling magnets and reliable remote turnout control make it more practical to have the deep seams I like that may include switching otherwise considered out of reach. Here we see the track serving the Duluth Union Depot. To the right, we see some of the leads out to two piers in the harbor. Each warrants its own full-time switch engine to keep up with wartime traffic, including a lot of grain shipping. Next, we'll take a trip on the peg as it departs from its West Duluth yard and heads for its midpoint at Virginia, Minnesota. The Steelton switch crew works with a timed work plan because certain moves should be done during the mill's shift changes. This is to assure materials are in place for the next shift so there is no lost time for steel production. The peg trestle is built on a steady 1.5% grade. The bridge deck was built as a single 14-foot long piece by overlapping its long stringers like spline roadbed to assure a smooth, sweeping track flow. My version of the Spirit Mountain Tunnel will have a nice cut stone portal that the prototype did not have. This is an example of a crew change location serving as visible staging. Our final inspection run will provide the perspective of westbound views. On the left, we see the leads to the piers dropping down closer to the lake level. Duluth's true yardmaster manages 2 yard engines plus 2 switch engine crews for the commercial and grain piers, downtown industries, and interchange with the peg. The east end of Bridge Yard assembles outbound trains. The west end classifies cars for distribution within the Duluth terminal area, including the commercial and grain piers, local industries, and interchange to the peg. Coming through West Duluth, we see more of the peg yard. The peg, which is a subsidiary of Canadian National, serves local industries, the steel mill, and its Canadian connection to the north. Today, the Missabe has loaned a switcher to the mill while its 060 is undergoing heavy maintenance. The steel mill and cement plant complex are actually rotated 180 degrees in order to place the leads facing the aisle for more convenient switching and the more interesting view. We have a more complete view of the long peg trestle. Every bent is 1/32 of an inch taller than its predecessor. Note the guardrail in the curve to help protect the peg bridge. We pass through Railfan Cut between Foxborough and Sandstone. Entering Sandstone, we see its small yard on the left. The curve is 7 degrees, medium sharp by standard gauge norms. That is the HO translation of its 115-inch radius. Over 160 feet of LED strip lighting is used to bring daylight to the rear portions of the lower deck where the upper deck is relatively wide. The Great Northern side of Hinckley does have some industry. Its long siding has a shorter siding serving the gravel pit, famous for saving many residents during the Great Hinckley Forest Fire of September 1, 1894, which killed more than 400 people. A Northern Pacific train saved many residents by escaping across the large Kettle River Bridge as it was starting to burn on the east side of Sandstone. Brook Park is a junction with the Great Northern's Mora line, diverging to the southwest to St. Cloud. I've added a leg to have a Y for the way freights from Minneapolis to be able to turn for the return trip. A signature structure in many rural areas is what we call the Billy Goat Bridge. I grew up on a farm south of Minneapolis, so I had to do a farm scene. A couple of the steers in the herd must be rail fans, as I always find them at the fence watching trains go by. The Cambridge way freight is gone already, giving us an open view of more of the town. It often has so much work that an eastbound through train will often drop a block of more cars, and a westbound through freight may pick up a block to reduce congestion. The Minnesota transfer comes into view, while down on the left we see the CB&Q's Dayton's Bluff yard in St. Paul. Upper deck supports are 1x4s tapered so that more than half the upper deck fascia can be scenery friendly, only 1 inch tall, while providing more clearance for viewing the lower deck. The supports are also very sturdy to allow wide upper deck scenes where needed, such as for Proctor Yard and Hibbing. The Northern Pacific Commissary for cleaning passenger cars and restocking diners, Pullmans, and business cars is located east of the St. Paul Union Depot. Arriving at East Lyndale in Minneapolis, the 7-track class yard is on the right, and the 5-track arrival and departure yard is along the main. Like Proctor, Lyndale has over 50 turnouts. Its true yardmaster manages 3 switch engine crews. Thanks for joining our tour. Hope you enjoyed the ride.